Sorry, am I supposed to come on stage during that? Is this when I'm supposed to come on stage? I have no idea what's happening right now other than this weird. There you go. There we go. Thanks,
Oilers, baby.
much. This is my part of the show. Listen, public service announcement. If you are just hopping in a vehicle to move it 20 feet out of the way, you got to move one piece of machinery from in the shop to up against the fence in the yard, or you're just backing out of the driveway, or whatever it is, don't fuck with the settings. Don't just push every damn button on the seat settings so you can get it comfy, and then all you're doing is just driving it 100 feet. It's rude. It's gross. You're a dick. Stop that. Just if it doesn't fit the way your ass is, just deal with it for the 10 seconds you're going to be driving that vehicle, and don't wreck it for the guy who's usually driving it. You can come back now, Sean.
Woo! Mashup 109.
Yeah, you betcha him.
How's Tooz doing?
Tooz is doing okay. He needed to get that off his chest, but he's feeling better now.
I'm going to give him. But it's Friday.
Sean?
It's Friday. I'm doing great. You know, it's been a bit of a crazy morning. People on the podcast probably recognize that Brothers Roundtable came out 20 minutes ago. That's because the brothers were in studio here this morning. Now it's this. You know, we're on to.
Are we still on for this afternoon too?
I have no idea. No, probably not, because I have no idea what you're. Hey, folks. Sean's running at about 100 miles an hour this morning.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Mashup 109.
We're taking applications for Sean to get some sort of a personal assistant. Just anybody who can keep his poop in a group. Like, get your shit together. You know, get it, put it in a backpack, and take it to a museum. Yeah.
Mashup 109.
Get your shit together, Sean.
Mashup 109. How's everybody doing? Earl's back. Happy Friday, boys. Earl, happy Airborne Friday to Jamie Sinclair and all the military boys out there. And this one is brought to you by Parental Rights Tour featuring Mr. James Lindsay. Dr. James Lindsay. That's correct. Bonneville, Edmonton, Red Deer, Calgary, Brooks.
Medical school to become a Mr. Thank you very much.
June 21st to June 24th. He's all through Alberta. You can grab your tickets, which I'll toss it in the comments here. And then if you're on the podcast, they'll be in the show notes.
Brooks, Calgary, Red Deer, Edmonton, and for the first time in a long time, a reason to be in Bonneville.
I wasn't going to say it, but there you go. Sorry, Bonneville. Hey, it's no different. We poke fun at Lloydminster too. If you haven't heard Dr. James Lindsay, he's been a guest on the Joe Rogan Experience multiple times. Mm-hmm. He's an American author, PhD in mathematics, and host of the New Discourses podcast. And you can get your tickets today. So he's making an Alberta tour. So here you go. Coots 2, 839 days, twos. And their trial starts next week.
I heard it started. Somebody keeps messaging me on Twitter. They'll reply to a comment and post some random link about the trial, but no details. And they're like, "Oh, it's starting Friday," and I'm like, "What time? When?" And then they never respond. So if you're watching this, give me some details, because who knows? I mean, depending on what time of day it is, Friday.
Well, Mocha Bazurgan was just on the podcast, and
I haven't had a chance to listen
they're
to
in the prelims, and the trial's supposed to kick off next week. That's what it is. But hey, to all the live listeners, somebody tell us two schmucks what's going down. We'd love to know and shed, put a spotlight on it and let people know.
I don't know. I'd be interested in making a trip down there and doing a Tooz style live on the scene reporting coverage of it. I wouldn't be able to do it every day or anything like that, but
what if we did a live Tuesday or a live mashup interview?
Maybe. I don't know. Do we get to talk to them? Can I go hang out with them in jail for a bit. I have no idea. I really know very little about our penal system in Canada.
All right. Well, Mashup 109 off to a bang again. Shall we begin, Twos? Shall we begin?
Let's get going already. Why haven't you started reading the headlines off?
Because you didn't put them up. They're taking our gerbs. The ACS, which is conducted by the U.S. Census Bureau, says the number of people moving from Canada to the U.S. hit 126,000 in 2022. That's nearly an increase of 70% over the 75,000 who made the move in 2012. Of the 126,000 who immigrated from Canada to the U.S. that year, 53,000 were born in Canada, 42,000 were Americans who said, screw this, I'm going home, and 30,000 were foreign-born immigrants to Canada who decided to move to the U.S. instead.
All right. Now, just real quick, what was that number, 125,000?
126,000 and change.
All right. There are exactly 27 cities in Canada that have more people than that. So it's somewhere between the size of Kingston and Milton. So that's way more than anybody living in Nanaimo or Red Deer. You've got Kelowna has a bit more than that. St. John's. How the hell does Regina have 214,000 people in it already? That's weird. Anyway, the point is that just this net actually, it's not net, it's gross. That was the one thing I would be interested in seeing, is how many people moved from the US to Canada during that same time, because it talks about the one side of it and not the entire ecosystem of it.
Sure.
But because I imagine there's going to be at least a couple of them. It didn't say it was net. But anyway, the point is that is a tenth of Calgary or Edmonton, right? That's a significant amount of people. Like, I remember when Saskatoon used to be that size. And you think about like every last man, woman, and child packing up and moving to Kentucky. That's basically what's happening every year now. Since things seem to have just gone differently since Trudeau took over. Did you see the other links I added?
I assume, yes.
Okay, all right. So here's report. Canada is the world's #1 destination for global talent in June 2023. And where was the other one here?
And 2021 immigration.ca said Canada's open and welcoming immigration policies are attracting so many highly skilled immigrants to the country that American lawmakers are now getting jealous and wondering what they can do to curb their brain drain.
Yeah.
Maybe
so
not.
This is just sort of a steady circling the abyss type thing. And that's where we're at right now, thanks to this guy.
I got Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Okay. Trudeau was never known for having big guns. Saskatchewan Party MLA Jeremy Harrison. Yep. New details about a 2016 incident were uncovered Wednesday through a partially redacted email provided to the Leader Post by Speaker Randy Weeks, who was neither the original sender nor the recipient. Basically, what you need to know is Harrison walked past, this is back in 2016, Harrison walked past the kiosk carrying his gun case and disappeared around the corner. The gun itself was not visible. However, it was obvious that it was in a gun case, and he was going coyote hunting with the speaker later that day.
Yeah, so he took an MLA on a weekend, needed to pop into the office for a bit, and he ended up going, he didn't call it in ahead of time, which, I don't know, I wouldn't think to do that. But he carries the gun in, goes to security and says, hey, I got this. Can you look after it so I'm not just leaving it unattended in my car? Does whatever his office stuff is, goes and shoots a bunch of coyotes and carries on. And then 8 years later, an email comes out and the NDP are pushing on it. And the Sask party is all flat-footed and they're like, oh, this is and then he resigns from his additional post, and it's the exact opposite response. He should have been like,
he went shooting coyotes in 8 years ago.
Saskatchewan.
Yes.
In Saskatchewan, you have a member of parliament who's shooting coyotes with the Speaker of the House on the weekend. That's exactly who you want.
They just
should be embracing it.
They literally should have just said, yeah, it was a mistake. He shouldn't have brought his gun in,
Well, he should have just called it ahead of time,
or
right?
called it ahead, and he made a mistake
It was
8 years
responsible
ago.
of him. It was responsible of him to say, "I don't want to leave this gun unattended in my car. I'm not a police officer that's just going to sit getting paid at home for 2 years afterwards, like that guy in Calgary a few years ago. I'm doing the responsible thing. Yeah, I should have called ahead of time, but really what you should be asking yourself is why more members of the NDP don't go shooting coyotes on weekend, because you're probably better people if you did."
Zane Southgate says, "You mean responsible gun handling is something the prairie overlords have forgotten?"
Actually, business thing. I've decided that I'm going to read all the typos in all the comments, so govern yourselves accordingly. Okay, the other part of that was that somebody found, Yukon Strong found this like 15-year-old interview with Trudeau where he talked about how he had a bunch of guns and then they all got stolen.
Yes. What a capital idea. An Ontario senior who wanted to help her daughter and grandson eventually own homes one day decided to give them 2 lots of her property as a gift, but she didn't know it would eventually cost her tens of thousands of dollars. Her lawyer told her that even though she was giving the land away, she would have to get it appraised to pay capital gains, as it was not considered her primary residence, which are exempt from the tax. Her lawyer then went on to tell her that the Canadian Revenue Agency she would owe about $40,000 in capital gains taxes. She said, quoted, "I said, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I'm on a pension. How am I going to pay for that?
Here,
I'm not one of the
I've got
wealthy.
the video here.
I'm not one of the wealthy." Oh, yeah, you can bring it up. Bring it up.
I said, why should I pay capital gain? You know, I'm not selling it to them. I'm gifting it to them.
One lot has a hydro tower on it and the other is partial wetlands. Still, it was valued at over $250,000. Diachin was told she must pay $40,000 in capital gains taxes.
I said, are you kidding? Are you kidding? I'm on pension. Like, how am I going to pay for that?
The government said changes to the capital.
It's better coming from her.
Oh,
It's better coming
absolutely.
from her.
This 93-year-old woman who's on a pension, who presumably, if it's worth $270,000 now and she's got to pay 40 grand in capital gains, it was probably she paid like $1 for each lot back in the day, right? So that's how long she's had it for and done nothing with. The land's just been sitting fallow for how many years? And then, here's the prospect of actually building houses. Isn't that the thing the government wants to do, is build houses? But Revenue Canada's got to get their greasy little fucking mitts in everything. And to be fair, the probably normal thing would have been for her to look into it and say, okay, well, there's going to be $40,000 worth of capital gains incurred on this. So you guys can have it if you pay the $40,000. Is how I would expect it to go. But the thing about it is that this shouldn't really even happen in the first place.
Yes. And then I just wanted to put in that article, there was a quote from Chrystia Freeland saying, "We are making Canada's tax system more fair, twos, by ensuring the wealthiest pay their fair share."
Yes, the 93-year-old pensioners who bought that lot for $1. Make sure you really stick it to them.
The NDP are not a serious party. The federal New Democrats want to amend the Liberal government's electoral reform legislation to scrap the proposal to push back the vote by a week and consequently secure pensions for dozens of MPs. Of course, this is going where they want to push the election back 1 week so that they can all earn their pensions. There's 87 of them in total, or 80 MPs, first elected of October 20th.
Facing it. And again, so we talked about this when it first happened, and this parrots the same line that the Conservatives are the ones most affected by it. But I would say that they're going to be the least affected by it, because
they're all getting back in.
Any of them are going to lose their seats. And if anything, it's going to be a bloodbath on the Liberal side. And they're the ones who stand to gain. Go figure. And God forbid we could have honest reporting on this.
Or the NDP. If the NDP really
this when it came through.
But if they wanted to if they're really that upset, they could just, I don't know,
call an election.
Call an election. That might that might actually solve this problem too.
Yeah, if only there was
what do I
some
know?
way that the minority party who holds the swaying vote in our current parliament system could do something to make sure that this doesn't happen. What a bunch of idiots. I hope that's the dumbest thing we have to hear about the NDP today.
Don't hold your breath. The NDP still aren't a serious party. Okay. Viva. Do you
Rachel
want to show it?
Notley's on her. Oh,
You want me to bring it up?
I've got to find it.
No, I'll
Here,
bring it up.
I've got the tab up.
Well, here, then
But-
you show it.
Well, I need to find which tab it is. You should see how many tabs I have open here. Damn it. But if you've got it handy, so this is Rachel Notley's farewell speech.
Well, thank you so much, Brooks. Now, some of you might not know the origin of this particular flag hanging out of my office window. Ceremonial flags are not uncommon on the grounds of the Alberta Legislature. And
It's
So-
Viva.
So, yeah, Rachel, like the NDP are going full blown, like all the way in on this whole Palestine thing. Even so far, apparently, as to hang fags from windows.
I can't even correct twos because she literally said it, folks.
This is straight from the horse's mouth. This is her farewell speech. I'm hanging fags from windows. Murray Anderson says the day is young. I assume he means the whole NDP thing. And Zane chimed in. He said, no corrections, all errors out loud. Earl says you can't unhear that. Apparently, you can say fag again. So it's not just saying things are gay and retarded. You can now call things fags if you want. That's apparently allowed.
Canada is not a serious country, period. Okay, well, if you missed it, it was menstrual. Well, here, I'll just.
Well,
show
I
you
don't know
quick.
how you could possibly miss it. The whole thing went on for 3 to 5 days.
Here you go. The city of Sault Ste. Marie, Canada, raises a period pride flag for menstrual equity. I wish this was a satire, but it's not. This was End the Wokeness tweet. There you go.
Picture, they've got the flag hanging at half mast, presumably for women with menopause.
There you go. Okay. All right. Fine. Okay. You got Terry Beach, member of parliament for Burnaby. And he says periods are a fact of life for women and girls around the world. Today, we mark Menstrual Hygiene Day, raising awareness of the barriers to accessing period products. Let's break the stigma around menstruation and provide women and girls all the opportunities they need to succeed. Twos. Here's the city of Victoria. Today, we join efforts to reduce the stigma around periods and work towards menstrual equity.
The
City Hall will light
stigma
up
around periods. I think maybe they mean the stigmata around periods, because apparently they think that this stuff just happens because it's like an act of God or something.
Well, I don't know. I don't need to keep going here.
Right.
You
So
know,
then
you got
a
the
bunch
bracelet.
A bunch of the Liberal MPs
You got
get bracelets, presumably with 23 white beads and 5 red beads. But I mean, if your flow goes longer than that, do you got to start switching out beads? Where exactly does this stop? And then apparently now, in classic virtue signaling fashion, this bracelet that came out like 3 days ago already has a black bead in it inserted for marginalized communities. So the people who have the original period pride bracelets from like less than 100 hours ago, they're already outdated bigots because they don't have the one with the black bead on it. This is the trans flag all over again, Sean. Like, remember when we did that story about the guy who painted his house in the in the LGBT flag colors, and then the whole, like, there was all these people
he missed
mad at
Brown,
them
right?
because the flag had been updated, and
Again.
he didn't allocate for that. He just had the old original flag. Like, I'll say this though. If you want a flag for a red period, it's already been done. Japan, their flag is literally a red period, folks. This has been done already. But this is, so on the one hand, this is the liberals being exactly as stupid as we've come to expect from them. But on the other hand, this is them, they're throwing Hail Marys, because the classic liberal move is find something that gets people arguing with each other. Just throw something out there that gets people arguing with each other, and then somehow we magically rise in the polls as a result of it. Okay? So this is the same thing, but they're starting to get a bunch of pushback now because everybody is like, I don't care how progressive you are or how drinking the liberal Kool-Aid, which I wouldn't recommend in this whole thing, is like, no matter how far you are down this rabbit hole, you realize that this is a pretty fucking stupid thing to do. Okay? Like hanging a period flag. I mean, if you're going to go down that road, it would make a lot more sense to fly a period tampon kite. You just have a big string you're holding on to it with.
Yeah. If there isn't comedians right now just loving the Canadian news cycle, I don't, they're missing it. They're absolutely missing it. This is just absolute gold.
We've been saying it forever. Like, this stuff just writes itself. Leanne Taylor, sorry I can't listen today. I'm at the National Citizens Inquiry in Regina. And then that was all she had to say.
But hey, I should point out the National Citizens Inquiry is happening in Regina the next couple days, and people should tune in. There's a lot of big names in Regina. I appreciate her sending that comment. As we make fun of menstrual equity.
Well, and then Murray Henderson says windsock. All right, I think you're onto something though, but you can't just have a regular windsock. It's got to be a big fucking condom.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
This is the news, Sean. We got.
I know. This is why I'm bringing up National Citizens Inquiry, because I appreciate the comment, because it is going on in Regina. They have some Dr. Jessica Rose, Dr. Pierre Corey. I'm going to miss a whole bunch of people, victims, et cetera, et cetera. They're doing it again in Regina, and I think it'd be very, very interesting. So National Citizens Inquiry, thank you for throwing that comment. If somebody has a few other things to toss in the comments online, I'd appreciate it, because we'll definitely bring it up.
Here's some important stuff in the comments online. Then when your lady has Aunt Flo visiting, you can tell them to go fly a kite. Period kite made me spit out my bevy. Thanks, Jen. We got lots of time for you here. That is, honestly, it's the best compliment you can get when it comes to like any sort of a tweet or anything you say in a podcast or anything like that. When someone's like, they're just listening along, and then I had to spit out my drink, whatever I was drinking. I spit out my coffee. I spit out whatever. That's the best compliment you can ever give me. So thank you for that.
Take a walk on the wild side. A manhunt is underway in Washington for several suspects who desecrated a Spokane Pride mural. City leaders held a conference on the unspeakable tragedy of the mural. Somebody lit it on fire. A manhunt is another one is a manhunt is underway after a driver left tire marks on a Pride mural in St. Pete, Florida. So
he didn't leave tire marks. He was doing burnouts. Somebody caught it on video. He's like, well, no wonder the police are so excited. They heard the word donuts and they got to come see what's going on.
What did we talk about here though? That what was it? Was it a week ago? Was it 2 weeks ago? Where we said this is going to pick up. Like, these things are going to continue to happen
because they're not hate crimes. They're just, now it's just poking the bear. It's not even a bear. It's like a fucking Care Bear. But it's just, oh, you guys are going to make this international news for doing some donuts? Fuck you. Fuck this virtue signaling shit. And they're going to do it. This is the first time I've ever heard of someone lighting a gay crosswalk on fire.
Yeah, in the
Middle East, they light the actual gays on fire. So this is a little bit different. But are they sure it isn't climate change? Because all the other fires are all climate change. But this one's a hate crime? How do they know that this particular, like, you know what? Yeah, it did get started on fire, but climate change made the fire so much worse. What about the gasoline? Nope, it was climate change.
Housing gets soupy. Housing needs, this is Trudeau, housing needs to retain its value, Trudeau said earlier this week. It's a huge part of people's potential for retirement and future nest egg. That in line with a couple of news.
No, here's the thing. Let me talk about that real quick.
Sure.
All right. Let's say you have a house and you want to live somewhere else because you're retiring. So you sell that house. Now you have to buy a house somewhere else. It's still going to cost, like, it's not as though your home exists in a bubble where it's the only thing appreciating in value. No matter where you're moving to, it's also expensive. So it's kind of this wash. The only way that you actually stand to gain is if you've got properties aside from your primary residence that are also increasing disproportionately quickly in value. So it's stupid. The thing about it is how are you going to make houses more affordable while at the same time not having them lose their value? Okay, we need to make housing more affordable. Cool. Well, that means that primary residence you're talking about is going to be worth less money because that's the definition of affordable. Okay. But you're not going to do that. How do you square that circle? How do you make that make sense? You can't. I mean, unless you're going to double wages across the country, it doesn't happen. Anyways, continue with the rest of it, please.
Well, then there's two. Okay, so then there's two articles here. The first one, Oakville received 1.28 million in federal funds, and is the first municipality in Canada to breach its agreement to implement 4 units of housing as of right now and allow greater density to build student housing for local college requirements, receiving 25 million from the Federal Housing Accelerator Fund. There's probably a ton of people watching this that have been hearing the Federal Housing Accelerator Fund quoted. Oakville is the first city that has breached their agreement. The first whose agreement we've terminated and the first whom we've asked for our money back, said Mikhail Ahmed, spokesperson for the Federal Housing Minister Sean Fraser, in an email. And then tack onto that, Calgary this week as well. The Trudeau government doled out $228 million to the city tied to the delivery of 41,000 housing units using the various tools the city indicated within their application. One thing the city indicated was they would, quote, would attempt to do a zoning change with the contract. And then also it says we will undertake rezoning. It also says council is unfettered by this contract to make the decision it must make. So then this week, they were getting asked questions on that, and Gondak concluded we did not say in the contract we would do the rezoning. So that's what they're trying to get clarification on, because you're seeing
they
now
were just looking for yes or no questions about,
and they kept doing the politician thing.
The rezoning faced huge public backlash in Calgary. The hearings went on for weeks. You had basically everybody in Calgary who wasn't selling their property and getting the hell out coming in and saying this is a bad idea. And then they said, okay, well, fuck you, we're going to do it anyway. And then people are saying, well, why? If nobody in this city supports it, why would you possibly do it? Could it have anything to do with the funding that the Liberals are promising you with strings attached to it? And this is exactly what Danielle Smith is trying to fight with that whole, the federal government has to go through the provincial government to access the municipal government.
Yes.
My boss is calling me. He'll have to talk later.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, the thing that I find interesting about this week in this twos is, you know, everybody's worried about the ties to what the money means and how that's going to affect your city and on and on and on. And Oakville getting their funding, basically, we need it back pulled because they wouldn't go along with it. It got voted down
to the way that they wanted to.
Correct.
See, Oakville said you wanted a bunch more housing. We set it up so that there can be a bunch more housing. And they said, you didn't do it the way we wanted you to do it. Go back to that thing you were almost right on the verge of popping up. I don't think we have a separate headline for that. North Carolina. There you go. Throw that up real quick. All right. Now, here's the problem with housing is that when the land gets real expensive, you got to build on the fucking ocean. Okay. And then here's the sixth house has collapsed into the Atlantic Ocean along North Carolina's Outer Banks. I'm just going to go out on a limb, quite like the literal house that collapsed into the ocean, and say that if you need to build it up on pilings literally in the ocean Like, hey, yeah, I get the fact that you know, having a nice yard is a bit of a pain in the ass and it's a lot of work, but maybe try and find a place where it won't just fall into the fucking swamp or the ocean, whatever. Anyways, just like, don't be surprised when this happens, and don't say it's climate change. It's not climate change because the house you built in the ocean fell into the ocean. It's because it's the fucking ocean.
The voting age should be 1 million. Trudeau appointed senator calls for allowing 10th graders to vote. And, well, do you have any thoughts on this, Twos? Do you think...
I have so many thoughts. I'm so glad you asked, Sean. Hey, thanks for having me on here today. Okay, so first off, 10th graders are idiots. 11th graders, also idiots. 12th graders, basically everybody up to about the age of 53 is probably an idiot. Okay? Why are we looking at lowering the voting age? We should be looking at increasing the voting age. And, you know, you hear a lot of people say, well, you know what? You shouldn't be able to vote if you don't have an income, or maybe you shouldn't vote if you don't own property. And there's probably a little bit of validity in that. But the thing I've really been rolling around in my head a lot, and I can't come up with a good reason why not, is to say that from this day forward, whatever day it is, anybody moving here has to live here for 18 years before they can vote. When a baby's born here, it has to live here for 18 years before it can vote. But you have all these different people from places like Bangladesh and Oshawa, you know, the real bowels of the world, coming over to Alberta and Saskatchewan because where they are has been an absolute shithole. You know, it's the same California, Texas thing all over again. You know, people are like, okay, well, you can come here, but don't vote for the stuff that made you need to leave. And it would probably just be easier to say, look, yeah, come right over. You know what? If you're interested, we can set you up with the place. We'll help you get everything switched over. But just so you're aware, anybody coming over here, their voting rights don't vest for 18 years. And then they've got time to look at it and say, okay, well, you know what, this works for me, or it doesn't, or whatever else. But you can address the immigration issue without fucking yourself over at the same time. Tell me why it's bad.
I'm not going to tell you why it's bad. I go decreasing the voting age is not, like, I was a moron at 18. And some would say I'm a moron now. Certainly, I know back when I was 18, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And so, like, to lower the voting age makes 0 sense. Let me be very clear.
No. Okay. It makes a lot of sense if you're a shit party.
No. Of course. But so does voters. Allowing...
It's the same thing with making drugs prevalent, Sean.
So does allowing non-citizens to vote. Like, I understand why they want it. I'm saying where I sit, it makes 0 sense. If anything, you should increase the vote. Like you have to be older to vote, or
it's
you
the
have
same
to.
Thing with
you know,
the
you can put
injection sites, though, right? Because if you've got to be high on crack to think that this guy would be a good politician, well, maybe we should have more people who are high on crack. That's their fucking strategy here.
Yeah, I understand their strategy. I'm just saying, when you say people move here, it's 18 years before they get to vote. I had never heard it that way too. And so I guess I'm not against it. I just go what they're trying to do on loosening who can vote and making it younger, making it so you don't have to be a Canadian citizen, on and on this goes. I don't like that. And I understand what they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. I absolutely understand what they're trying to do, because as you get older, you go, what the heck is going on? No, I don't want to vote for... Honestly, it's starting to get to where you don't want to vote for anyone because you're so upset with the political system. And
welcome
so I'm
to
not,
the club.
Yeah. So you to me, you know, here I just wanted to pull up switching just one quick sec. Here's the National Citizens Inquiry. It's live. Dr. Tess Laurie is on right now. I know there's people, we just had it put up that it's in the show notes where you can go to watch it live. If you switch over from us to that, I completely understand. This will be hereafter, as will the recordings of that. But Dr. Tess Laurie on right now, and I thought that's important to shed a light on as well, too. And that's going on the next couple days. So
Daryl says, raising the voting age to 25 and you have to be paying taxes. Retired people should be exempt from paying taxes in exchange for never voting again. Thoughts? That's interesting. Like, see, this is the kind of stuff where you're like, okay, well, that's the kind of thing you could chew on for a little bit. You could be like, well, what would it look like?
Would you give up your? Think about that. You hit. I don't know what are we calling retirement age?
I don't know. Call it 65. Whatever. You hit 65. You don't pay any more taxes.
Can you imagine
again,
being like 35 and just being like, screw it, I'm retired. I'm not paying taxes. I don't want it. I'm not voting.
Right? That's the beauty of this, right? Because you're like, okay, well, what would happen if you instituted that? And then you have some guy saying, I'm retired. Fuck you. I'm not paying taxes.
I don't care about voting. I'm out.
David FL. Women shouldn't be allowed to vote. They are the reason this world is in a mess. Well, I don't know. It's interesting. I feel like if there were no women and no alcohol in the world, I'd be retired already, and I'd be weighing in on the prospect of never paying taxes again. So, I don't know. Maybe it's interesting. There's a lot of landmines, but there's a few golden landmines out there.
Let's move on. Take away women's right to
Earl
vote.
says,
come on.
Leave my Oshawa out of it. Artur Pawlowski for Prime Minister of Canada. I completely disagree. But that's all right. I say retired people have already paid enough in taxes to secure their right to vote for the rest of their life without paying more taxes. See, this is where you could really have, like, this would make a really good live stream discussion.
Bring people on to discuss it.
I'm 69 and they owe me back pay. Nice.
Booze for the booze.
Mm-hmm.
Wait 1 second. Before we move on from that last thought, you said it would make for a really good live discussion. So this coming Wednesday, Chuck Prodnick's going to have a live Q&A with people who want to show up. And
with you on
at 4 o'clock on Wednesday, we're going to try it out. And what you just said would be really, really interesting to have a Zoom call discussion on voting age and reform around it. Just saying, just throwing that dart at the wall, because that would be an interesting live discussion.
Like for some kind of like a blue collar roundtable or something.
Yeah. Well, actually, maybe we could pull that off. Anyways, just booze for booze, just food for thought. Okay, booze for booze. While eligible convenience stores across Ontario will be allowed to sell beer, wine, cider, and ready-to-drink cocktails as of September 5th, industry insiders say not all of them are likely to do it at once, and some grocery stores that are already selling alcohol could stop because of a new recycling requirement. Multiple things here. One, quoted, the convenience store premium could be anywhere between 20 to 40% of increase on price, depending upon the product, said Winder. The smaller the store, the higher the premium goes. They're talking about space requirements, right? Like it's got to compete with other things they sell. And the new system mandates the 20% of shelf space for beer and cider, 40% for wine would be devoted to Ontario craft producers. That's so not only when they put it in, now they have to have
now it's a protectionist industry for local businesses.
Craft beers, yes, and craft alcohols. Under the new rules, grocery stores, also big box stores like Walmart, starting October 30th, any store 4,000 square feet or bigger needs to have its own recycling setup to handle empties. So until January 1st, Anyways, so now there's a whole bunch in this.
They bureaucratize the absolute shit out of this in every possible way. Okay, and they spent $225 million to take away regulations, but then throw in a whole bunch more. Yeah. Okay, Doug Ford cannot do anything correctly at all. I'm sure that at this point, I bet you he wipes his ass sideways. Okay, he's just it's just a dumpster fire. It never ends with this guy. Okay, but then you got places like the Toronto Star who are against everything Doug Ford has to say, which is fair. But they can't formulate a decent, coherent argument about it because none of the people working there are fucking smart enough. So, beer and wine, could cost up to 50% more when it hits Ontario convenience stores, experts say. Do you need a fucking expert to say that when you buy something at a convenience store, it costs 50% more than when you would buy it somewhere else? That's literally why it's a convenience store and not a grocery store. Okay, this is what is you're paying for the fact that it's open 24 hours a day. You're paying for the fact that they've got a really high cost in terms of stocking shelves and dealing with that. And you've got isolated different, a cooler here, freezer there, and just it's all this disparate shit piled together. Okay. That's why you pay a premium for convenience stores, but you get the convenience of it. Okay. If you buy a chocolate bar at a convenience store, it costs 50% more. This is not brain busting fucking economics here, folks. Okay. And this is their argument against bringing booze into convenience stores, is that literally, like everything else at a convenience store, it will cost 50% more than when you buy it at a grocery store. Come on, guys. I get that the bar is low, but give me something to work with here.
Yeah. If you were in a convenience store and you got to sell beer and alcohol and everything else, what would you put on your shelves? If there was no regulation on like you have to have 20% of this and 40% of that, what would be your mainstay to put in there?
Well, I mean, the first thing I would want to do is put all of my favorites on there and none of the stuff I don't like. No, I would literally just go with what sells, because that's what I'm in the business of, is selling stuff.
Correct answer, Twos. You would be like, well, I guess I'm just going to put up what sells. Like that's literally what I'm going to do.
If I cannot keep Bud Light on the shelves because it just keeps flying off and people keep throwing money at me, all right,
Probably
fair
Bud
enough.
Light.
All right, I've sold my soul. All right.
If it's the Dylan Mulvaney can, it's the Dylan Mulvaney can. I mean, what are we going to do here?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's about time that dude had a nice pair of cans.
Earl Wally, 4 o'clock your time for Chuck. Yes, 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time is what time Chuck will be doing it. And for the link, go to Substack, the Sean Newman Podcast Substack. It'll come out Tuesday.
Is it a Substack exclusive?
No, it's not going to be a Substack exclusive. So this one is going to be free to anyone that wants to. It's just the link to Substack.
You're going to do the fentanyl model. You're just going to be like, just try a little.
We're going to
try a little bit.
Try a little bit.
Okay. All right. Now, you're back for more. Oh, this one's going to cost you a little more.
We'll make sure the next one is a little harsher. We'll probably have 2s on it, like really by that time you're so like, got grave concern. 3 years since Chief Roseanne Casimir issued a press release announcing an unthinkable loss that was spoken about but never documented. In the work of ground penetrating radar specialists, the stark truth of the preliminary findings came to light. The confirmation of the remains of 215 children were students of the Kamloops Indian Residential School. This week, being the 3rd anniversary, Chief Casimir announced a day of reflection with almost exactly the same wording as her 2021 statement, but with an important difference. Casimir described the same unthinkable loss that was spoken about, but never documented. Only this time it was that the stark truth of the preliminary findings came to light. The confirmation of 250 anomalies were detected. Anomalies, not the remains of 215 children. And as you recall, 3 years ago, when it was 250 children, not only did Canada lose its uncontrollable crap about this, so did the entire world.
Yeah. We hung flags at half-mast at every government building for half a year. Okay? And anybody who said, well, shouldn't we look into this a little bit more? Shouldn't we, not to put too fine a point on it, but shouldn't we dig a little deeper? Got called out for it for being racist. Okay? Now, they have spent $8 million to date and have not, to the best of my knowledge, even bought a shovel. Okay? Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm willing to revisit this if I'm wrong. But at this point in time, if you have spent $8 million trying to find a single dead body out of all of this stuff and you have not found any, it's on you. Okay? And there aren't any. Okay? And the whole incinerator thing, it falls apart. Marty had a really good point about it.
Here's Marty up north's tweet.
So
over the top.
TG said, well, you know what? There's probably not going to be a lot of bodies because these places had incinerators. Okay, first off, if the bodies got incinerated, then they wouldn't be in the ground for them to find with the radar, the supposed unmarked graves. So if the bodies got incinerated, you're not looking at the bodies when you supposedly found these unmarked graves. So which side of the coin do you want it to be on? Okay. But here's Marty. Go ahead.
Oh, he says they can't find anybody, so now they're making up an incinerator story. The first industrial incinerators didn't appear in the UK until around 1875. The first in the USA was circa 1890. And he was, does anyone seriously think the residential school in the middle of buttfuck nowhere in Western Canada in the 1930s would have had an incinerator? Never mind the fact that schools were mostly run by Christians who were still somewhat against the idea of cremation. And he just says you're grasping at straws.
Abso-fucking-lutely. Right? Just admit that, hey, like, why is it so hard for everybody to just be like, well, you know what? Maybe we kind of went a little bit overboard here. COVID. Maybe we kind of overreacted a little bit. These unmarked graves that, until we're proven wrong, are a nothing burger. Maybe we overreacted a little bit. Every time some fuckhead goes on strike in the government, maybe I'm overreacting a little bit.
We need to take on big bonuses. The Trudeau government rubber stamped more than $416 million in bonuses to federal departments and crown corporations during the last fiscal year, according to government records obtained by the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Bureaucrats working in federal departments and agencies took home $210 million in taxpayer-funded bonuses in the 23-24 calendar year. Meanwhile, bureaucrats working in federal crown corporations took $195 million in bonuses throughout the same year.
Yeah, this is insane. And you had Catherine Tate saying in a parliamentary hearing, it was interesting because I remember thinking at the time, the way she said it was very squirrely. She said, I did not approve performance pay. It was basically I did not have sexual relations with that taxpayer money.
She said, "It's." I have it as the next article too, so forgive me on that.
I was paraphrasing slightly, so correct the shit out of me.
Well, no, she just said. The story reads: those records, and this is talking to CBC bonuses. Those records seem to contradict testimony by CBC President and CEO Catherine Tate to the Heritage Committee on May 7th, when she repeatedly claimed that she had no idea whether or not bonuses were paid. And then, of course, now it's come out that $14.9 million in bonuses, according to Blacklock's report, which we have time for, show executives and managers in that same fiscal year, 23-24, were issued. So $14.9 million in bonuses to CBC executives and managers.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and say that if you are the president and CEO of a company and $15 million is getting thrown around that you don't even know about, despite the fact that 100,000 of it ended up in your fucking bank account. So two things have to happen at the same time for what she said to be true. One, she's so fucking rich that when she got a direct deposit from her employer of $100,000 into her checking account, she didn't even notice. At which point I would say that she's probably fucking rich enough and maybe she should get the fuck out of there. The second thing is that she's running things so loosey-goosey that $15 million got thrown around and she didn't have any idea. Okay? Which I would say implies that she does a shit job of running things and she should back the fuck out. Okay? And then she said, I really take objection to being called a liar. Most liars do. Okay, by the way, $15 million. Let me just make sure I don't get a zero wrong. 14.9 divided by 141 is, in lieu of those bonuses, they could have paid every single person that got laid off $105,000. Well, rounded up to $106,000, which I'm pretty sure they didn't make anyway. Actually, they worked for CBC. They probably made that. But anyway, they said, oh, yeah, you're only going to get paid $106,000 this year, but you get to keep your job. That would have been the right thing to do. There was so much money in those bonuses that every single person they laid off, which, to be clear, every single one of these fucks should lose their job. But the point is that they're saying, we're broke, we need more money, and they're like, we can't this is that meme where there's there's that guy in the hole. He's working the shovel, and there's like 8 guys standing around watching him. And then there's like a name tag that says Juan to that guy. And they're like, due to cutbacks, we had to let go of Juan. This is literally what the CBC does.
Move on. Yes, the CBC are a bunch of morons, and they screwed us again, and they're lying. What more from government funded? Yes, the dying media and its resurrection. We talking Ron McLean? We talking Oilers?
So we missed it. We messed it up a little bit here. So we need to take on big bonuses was the Crown Corporations, and then the CBC stuff was leading into that whole bit. So we covered them both at the same time. I will say this though, if you've got the government handing out $500 million or $1 billion, I can't even remember which one it was. That's how bad this stuff is. Like economics doesn't trickle down.
You think we could take a payout from the government and still do our show the way it is and still criticize them and make fun of the fact we got funded to do it? You think we could get some? Is there any like writer out there for grants that would love to just try and get the Tuesday or the mashup stuck in my brain, the mashup a grant so we could fund it and
say that we are funded by the government of Canada.
Yes, we're
and
award-winning podcast.
Should not have given us this money.
Correct. And then make fun of it. Wouldn't that be the greatest? There's got to be somebody listening out there.
I've got a tab open on my phone. I've been trying to figure that out. We're on the exact same page, buddy. We're on the exact same page. At this point,
I would take $1 million, and I would say we're government funded that should not be funded.
Yep. This should not exist, but we took the money, but we should not have it. But they should not have given it to us.
Carbon tax mistake. That's exactly what it would be. It would be a
these fucking idiots gave
federal
us
grant mistakes. That's right. How much fun could we have with that? I tell you, folks, if we could figure that nutshell out, we're gonna have a ton of fun on this side.
And they do the same thing they did with Oshawa, where they'd be like, "Yeah, you're not doing it the way we wanted to. We want you to give us the money back.
We want the money back." Yeah. The Liberals are requesting a more publicized correction from the parliamentary budget officer after an error was found in its carbon pricing reports, which have been frequently cited in the Conservative Party Axe the Tax attacks.
So basically, the PBO, their study included what the industrial emitters pay for carbon tax, and they're looking at residential. And so the argument here apparently is that because the costs aren't directly attributed, they shouldn't be counted. But when you look at costs of goods sold in any industry, and you've got, say, a 5 or 6% markup or whatever the hell it is, you look at all the costs of goods sold, including things like carbon taxes. So I found this thing really baffling. I don't know. Maybe somebody could chime in, or you could tell me where this makes sense. Because it looks like they did it right. And then somebody said it wasn't done the way we wanted it to be done. And they're calling that a mistake. Because it looks, for me, the way I read this article, it looks like they didn't make a mistake at all. It looks like they did actually the way it should have been done. But because the Liberals wanted to narrow the definition to the point of irrelevance, it wouldn't apply that way. But the point is, like, it's garbage in, garbage out. If you want to do a shit study that only looks at some of the impacts, well, yes, then you have to leave it out. But if you want to look at it honestly and see what it actually costs the consumers, you have to include that. I don't know. Tell me I'm wrong. I read this article and I'm like, did I miss a key sentence somewhere? Did I just skim past something entirely? It just seems fucking ludicrous.
I literally have written down question mark, twos, question mark. What am I reading? And
I wanted to ask you and just be like, what did you get out of this?
I didn't get anything out of it.
Okay, all right.
I actually got exactly what you just said, and I'm glad you brought up confusion, because I'm like, I don't know why we're reading this, because I understand they want them to renounce the fact they're saying axe the tax off. I understand it, but when I read it, I'm like, but I don't think they're making their argument very clear if they are in fact making any argument.
Like I'm reading it and I'm like, they haven't actually laid out where this is wrong. And if you could point out where it's wrong, yeah, I'm interested in hearing it.
This is cool. We got Donald Schwartz watching from Nova Scotia. Thanks for tuning in, Donald. That's cool.
Yeah.
Anytime it's
For sure.
Are we talking
that's
Oilers?
perfect.
Yeah, I got a clip up here about Ron McLean. Do you want that in there, or you skipped it? You
Fine.
moved it? I don't know what we're doing here.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about Oilers. We'll talk
Okay.
about the stupid Oilers.
Do you made me not watch a whole bunch of things? I don't know if there was a bunch of things. BX has been on fire lately. He called the Canadian media meat, raw, dead, and dumb, which was rather clever and raised some eyebrows. And then you got Ron McLean putting
perennially fucking up.
Yeah, and BX says that's a fine, picks it back up, and that's great.
Yeah. So there's a few other interesting things that happened in hockey this week, somewhat loosely related to the Oilers. 35 years ago, the Flames won the Stanley Cup. This is the 35-year anniversary. Oh, let's get PJ Murray. There's Robert. McKinnis. Oh, there's Theo. He's a rookie that year. He was awesome in that playoff series, and there's Wall walking away.
You know what I love about this, folks? The Calgary Flames fan is living in 35 years ago. 35 years ago, twos. Hey, I don't know if you noticed, the Oilers Stars series tied 2-2. We're going game 5 tonight. We're 2 games away from the Stanley Cup Finals. But hey, by all means, show me 35 years ago.
All right. See, here's the problem, though, is that not everybody's happy with the way this playoff series has been played. So I don't know. Did you see this interview with Connor McAustin Matthews?
Zoom in on it for me, would you? Make it bigger. Maybe toss on some volume. I don't know. I can't hear anything. I literally hear nothing. I see that.
Okay. Were you hearing the other stuff?
Oh, here. This is why. Here it is. This is why. Carry on. Put it up again. Turn it up. Here we go.
Why did you? Oh, why are you such a fucking hater?
Stuart Skinner fucked us again. Next game, I'll drag a homeless guy off the street. I'd take a bum and net over Stu, even if the bum's name is Jack Campbell. If Stu shits the bed like that in game 4, I swear to God, I'll tie him up like Goldberg in the first Mighty Ducks, and we'll shoot 100 pucks at his crotch. He'll be hitting the high notes like Michael Jackson for the rest of his pathetic career. Stuart.
Yeah,
so guys who do.
There was another one here. This one's also really important. Okay, all right. So here, let me pause the damn thing. All right.
Oh,
so there was,
you
here's another clip from him again. All right. You could tell that McDavid's starting to get a little bit frustrated.
Another loss. No shit. Do you guys know what it feels like to have to
zoom in on it?
Your fucking self. Connor, go score a bunch of goals because our defense and goalie suck. Stuart Skinner is so fucking bad. Like Jack Campbell bad. I can't wait until my contract is up. I'll be on the first plane to Toronto. I'll sign for League Min and win 5 straight cups with the Leafs just to spite the Oilers and their fans. And Edmonton is a dump of a city. Can't wait to be out of here.
You know what? First off, I got mad respect for anyone who makes dubbed over videos that are clever and funny because it really.
Oh, you think that was dubbed over?
Oh yeah, 100%. And of course, it's a Toronto Maple Leafs fan saying they're going to get McDavid and he's going to go win 5 cups in Toronto. Sorry, Leafs fans, you couldn't get out of the first round again. Okay, just shove on. And they got the Calgary Flames fan trying to poke fun 35 years ago. It's game 5 tonight, man. Game 5. And yeah, us Oilers fans, we hate on Stu and we hate on Darnell Nurse. And we hate on our players.
Fair
yet we're
that is
two
pretty
games
much
away
the
from
only
the finals.
interesting stuff in Oilers news this week. So yeah, let's move forward.
Oh yeah. I don't know if we just won game 4 and look convincing there, except for the first 4 minutes where it was 2-0 and you're like, oh my goodness, can we get a new goalie? And then Stu stood in there and we win 5-2 and we carry on. By the by-election.
Yes.
Are you going to show the video?
I'm just trying to find it here. This is the problem with having so many damn
goodness gracious, folks.
Well, no, I've got
you give 2 an inch and 2's just, takes a mile here.
Well, no,
35 years.
All I can see is
years ago.
a tiny little logo. So here.
35 years ago, the Calgary Flames. Well, isn't that just lovely? It's just lovely. So This is federal by-election candidate, Toronto St. Paul's, Donovan Ekstrom.
So he's running in Ontario.
Stop voting for Torontonians. Start voting for Albertans, you dorks.
So Donovan Ekstrom is running for Member of Parliament in Toronto St. Paul's. Albertan Solutions for Canadian Problems.
That's just clever, man. That's clever.
I think that's absolutely beautiful. And then here is, I don't know why is it thinking? Why is Elections Canada crashing? I literally just had this up.
It's a government website. What did you expect?
Jesus Christ, these people. Okay, look at all of these candidates. This is what the ballot is literally going to look like in this by-election on June 24th, unless there's more candidates. But for right now, you have this many. And for those of you listening, there's probably about 50 of them on here. Okay, so you've got Don Stewart running for Conservative Party, Amrit Parhar, NDP, Ali Muhyiddin in Centrist Party of Canada, and Leslie Church, Liberal, Christian Cullis is Green, and literally all these other guys have this interesting thing where the name of their official agent is a guy named Kieran Sukowicz. And I'm not sure what exactly the finer points are. We're trying to actually get that guy we just showed on later on today. He's got a link. He's going to try and jump on at some point. But
hopefully he comes here in the next little bit. We're going to run out of time too. We're already over an hour.
Okay, but here's the thing. So they want electoral reform, and they're just spamming all of the ballots until they get it.
You know, it's the mashup, folks. We're the afternoon drive. We're just going to go for 4 straight hours. It's going to be an afternoon program. You're just going to tune in and out whenever you want. Eh? That's what Twos is leaning on. You know? Oh my God.
Fine. All right, let's move it up.
I hope he comes on because it was really clever. Like that was really freaking clever. And wouldn't you know it? His ears are burning. His ears are burning.
We were just
Donovan
talking about you.
The show.
Beautiful. I only have like a minute. Sorry. But
we have a minute.
Whatever you want.
All right. Do you want me to just talk a bit about me and my platform? It's tremendous. Yes. My name's Donovan Ekstrom. Proud Albertan, born and raised in beautiful Grand Prairie, Alberta. Lived in Alberta my entire life. I could probably count on both hands the amount of days I've been out of this province. Because my wife's from Ontario, so I had to go and visit family. But anyways, I'm running in Toronto St. Paul's to give those beautiful people in Toronto an opportunity to elect an Alberta boy, get a true blue Albertan too, not one of those ones who've been in Ottawa for 20 years working and sullied by the bureaucracy. Get some good old-fashioned Alberta too, like 1920s Alberta, really the foundations of what makes this province the best province there is. Do you want to hear, I guess, I don't know. Do you have questions?
What's going on with this ballot in Toronto St. Paul?
Well, so there's a thing called the Longest Ballot Committee, whose whole goal is to make the longest ballot in a protest of Justin Trudeau's reneged policy of proportional or voter electoral reform. Mm-hmm. And so a bunch of folks kind of come in on that and then just sort of put pressure on the system. So there's a bunch of people here, but it gives me an opportunity to run and give Toronto something that they probably haven't really experienced before.
Something actually worth voting for. Do you plan on doing any door knocking?
I'm getting some. Don't worry, I've got some businesses I've been chatting with. Good Grand Prairie businesses. We'll see.
So you've been door knocking in Grand Prairie for this?
Of course. That's what I got to do. Get some endorsements with that. I guess ultimately, a little bit of time here. My platform, these woke businesses and bureaucrats in the heart of Eastern Canada in these economic districts are really killing this country. Loblaws has their woke CEO. Even Imperial Oil has a woke Easterner CEO. Not to mention Justin Singh and Pierre sucking the woke CEO's teats and more. Like, there's just so much wrong with these powerful bureaucrats and CEOs that are there making billions of dollars off of hardworking Canadians' backs. So first and foremost, get rid of these subsidies to these woke Eastern Torontonian white-collar bastards and their corporations. There are hardworking Albertans and Canadians that deserve that money far more than some dorky CEO Ontarian with a bow tie. If blue-collar workers, here's the thing, and this is what I'm hoping for ultimately, blue-collar workers organizing in Toronto, St. Paul's, seeing somebody here that understands the importance of taking these bastards down, right? If blue collar workers organize, right, unite, combine with their respective trades, unify, get together, take these Eastern bastard woke moralists out back together, we can make a mighty trust to withstand this attempted woke control by these white collar scoundrels. So that's what I'm hoping for. Rise up against these woke corporate agendas. Vote for an Albertan that'll tear down, not afraid to tear down, not afraid to walk in and knock stuff down, tear down these woke white-collar bureaucrats and corporations. Vote Donovan Ekstrom, independent, June 24th in Toronto, St. Paul's. Woo!
Holy shit. Do you want
How was that?
Do you want to be on a weekly podcast?
You get me for a minute? Hell yeah, maybe. Let's go. Yeah. Does that sound good? Take down all these corporations.
All right.
Get the blue collar workers together. Honestly, if you got all the welders together, you get all the trades.
Well, they build stuff.
100%. What's going to happen? It's like, okay, we're going to stop. Oh, good Lord. Oh, yeah. Anyways, that's what I got. Take care, gents. Peace out. Boot me out.
Thanks for coming. I love the Canadian tuxedo. Wear it every appearance you make.
You know what? I think if we just didn't make everybody's Friday, thank you, Donovan Ekstrom, for being on here. I think
what
we just
the hell was what a whirlwind.
Yeah, can we just end the show? Can we just done?
Yeah, like that was basically Michelle's saying love it. Murray's saying come run in Saskatchewan. That was brilliant. Wow. Okay. Also, Earl wants to know if we talked about that fool Mark Holland yet. I don't really like talking about people with bow ties. But yeah, like that was Jesus Christ. We don't have anything interesting after that. Let's just go to happy news. We can't possibly top this.
Wait,
I'm literally cutting like 6 things. I want
to talk about one thing, and that's the WHO. I think that can go in the happy news as well. But let's
COVID-cation.
Yes, let's just talk about that for just one quick more tick. Donovan Ekstrom, I think he doesn't realize it, but he's coming on the next Blue Collar Roundtable. You know, me and you've been talking about that, and we kind of talked about it, hinted at it earlier in this. I'm like, did that just really happen? Like, you show up on a Friday morning at 10 a.m., folks, and Nova Scotia would be what, 12? It'd be a little after noon. It'd be a little after 1. And you're like, oh, yeah, these two guys are going to go back and forth. And then you get a blast of that, and that was like, he wasn't sitting in the waiting room. We were like, all right, we're moving on. Boom, he walks in. Boom, he lays it down. Boom, he's out. I'm like,
we had no idea about any of this. I just saw a really funny ad saying vote for me. And I just reached out to him, and I was like, hey, do you want to come on a podcast? And he's like, okay, I'll try and make it. I said, here's a link. And that was it. That's like all I knew about this guy until 5 minutes ago. I'm blown away.
I don't know what to say. Yeah. That was fantastic. Let's move on to happy news, shall we? Happy news? Okay.
Co-vindication
and happy news kind of blending together here, okay? First, WHO negotiators failed to draft a pandemic treaty. Good news. That's great news. Anytime their plans don't go according to plan, I'm happy. And I think that that is very, very, very good news. The other thing on happy news is a 100-year-old Major General Richard Romer, one of Canada's most decorated veterans, will be returning to France to mark D-Day. He's not the only one. Jamie Sinclair heading over there. The Royal Regina Rifles get to put up a statue on the beach this year. So there's a whole bunch of them going over there. And to all the military veterans, there's a lot of hit you in the feels with those stories.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, this guy's 100 years old. He's got, you can see him in the background there. He's got, I don't want to get this wrong. Flying Victoria Cross, is that at the front there? But I mean, the guy's got, like, basically, if we ever start running out of precious metals, he's got quite a lot there. Like, just a highly decorated guy, honorable brigadier general, and 100 years old, making the trip.
Yeah. Oh man, what a way to just derail my train of thoughts.
Yeah,
But happy news. Yes. Great. Oh man, 109 coming in hot. I don't know. Toronto better vote for that, man. That sounded pretty cool.
Yeah.
A GP guy.
It would be a
running
great
in Toronto.
mashup to have a stream in from France next week. You
You
know
know
what?
what? That's a great idea. And Jamie Sinclair is going to be there. And so is Willie McDonald. Actually,
Yeah.
there's a whole bunch of guys going to be over there next week. That's a great idea. I tell you what, Zane, that's a great idea. I'm going to throw it at Jamie, and we'll see what we can make happen. Time frame and everything else, and how liquored up I assume a few of them are going to be. Who knows? But we'll see if we can't make something happen.
Yeah. I'm not going to make the trip. I don't really like France very much or French people, so I'm going to pass. Actually, I looked at France one time and said, like literally on the coast, and said, nope, I'll get off at the next stop. So yeah, I guess I'm not very German because I didn't want to invade France, but I'm glad that they're making that trip for that.
Yeah, Zane says bring on the Sinclair. Yes.
Yeah,
I agree. I think that's. I was literally just talking to him yesterday, so I'll see if we can make that happen. All right, community notes here. You got June 7th, Il Scarlet in Calgary. June 22nd, Aaron Goodvin and Garrett Gregory in Marwayne. You got an Injection of Truth Town Hall, June 17th in Calgary. Tickets are now sold out for it, but they're pushing on people to get the live stream it. Wherever you're at. An Injection of Truth.ca. You got the Rose Ballot. Oh, no, that's May 25th. That's passed. Kid Scotty Days is passed as well. Holy man. Francis, Saskatchewan has its rink fundraiser June 8th. Twos, have I missed anything?
No, you basically hit all the points. Oh, shoot. There's actually one more if you could filibuster for a minute.
Well, I was going to say tonight, Game 5, Oilers Dallas going on. Just throwing that out there. If you want to go watch Calgary Flames fans, if you want to go back 35 years though, you can certainly watch something from 35 years ago that hits you in the feels. I'm sure it'll be all exciting. Maybe don't tune in tonight because that'll be pretty tough on you. Watching the Oilers win Game 5.
June 8th, Crossfield Rodeo, the Pete Knight Days.
There you go. Crossfield Chamber of Commerce. Thrilled to be the host of the Pete Knight Days Parade for 2024.
Yeah. All right. We got a couple comments here right before we bout. There's a Buffalo Party Town Hall at the Besser Claw Casino tonight. So make sure you Google Besser Claw Casino if you want to go there.
Is that a spelling typo or is Besser B-E-S-R?
There's no such word as Besser. The A and the S are right next to each other on keyboard, Sean. So, yeah. We need some mashup shirts whipped up again. What's the timeline for such greatness? Well awkward pause. Yeah. That's a pretty sharp shirt you got right there.
I tell you what, Zane, text me. We'll see what we can make happen. And
I got a bunch of people bugging me about stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe we could do it today, seeing as my afternoon cleared up because I was supposed to be on a podcast with you this afternoon that you totally forgot about.
I have no idea.
Every week, folks, he's like, oh, I need a Jamie. Every time he's doing an episode, he's trying to look something up and maintain the conversation at the same time. It's, I need a Jamie. And he bugs me. And I'm like, well, you know what I mean? I can't really just make the trip in 20 minutes. But if you did one that wasn't live, I could probably try and Jamie that. We could figure it out and see how it goes. Cool. Let's do a Friday afternoon. Awesome. Team break. Go.
Yeah, but what people have to realize is
you fucking forgot.
No, I'm scheduled further out than that. So coming to studio this afternoon should be lawyer Leighton Gray. And it's in studio. So how do you facilitate Twos not being here? You can't. See what I'm up against here with dealing with Twos, folks? He tries to stick me in these corners. And then I'm like, but that's not what we talk. We literally.
Ooh.
Anyways.
When you talk to Leighton, can you ask him for me? I've always wanted to know what this is. What is habeas corpus? It just sounds so interesting. And I don't want to Google it because it'll lose the mystery. But just ask him what habeas corpus is. I don't know if it's something he can explain in a minute or 10 or what, but it's a thing. I know that.
I'll see what I can do. Folks, 109 in the books. A little surprise treat for you on a Friday. Having a
Thanks for coming
Alberta
on,
boy in from Toronto. That surprised me. I did not see that coming. And there you have it. Folks, until next week. Twos, as always.
All right. Thanks, Sean.